Esther is a midwife working in Torbay Hospital, and I would love to hand over to Esther to explain a bit about what she does and how creative she is.
Hi. It's a big subject, and pottery is my main love. I do also do some watercolours, and if any of you've seen the photo of that I'm in on the Hearts and Minds promotion little video, whatever you want to call it, you can see some of my watercolours in the background on there. So yeah, bit of calligraphy. I like flower arranging. I'm really interested in nature, and yes, there's the photo. So flowers and plants. I just find myself surrounded by them where I live, and the detail. It's very interesting looking at the detail on your hand, and I feel I look at nature and natural forms in that level of detail as well, and just find it so inspiring.
So Esther, when did you start your creative journey? What would you say started you off on the path of creativity and making?
For me, I was really young. I am from a family of creative people, so my mum likes to paint, and her mother did as well. But when I grew up on the Isles of Scilly, which is quite a special place in itself. Oh, look, there's a photo.
There we go. Here's what I prepared earlier, Esther.
Yes, thanks, Di. Yeah, really special place. And I grew up there, and just down the road from us, there was a potter called Janet. And I was probably about 9 years old. Myself and my siblings, we'd trot off down to hers. It's so safe on the Isles of Scilly. You have a lot of freedom as a child, and you just go, oh, Mum, I'm going down to Janet's. And she didn't have any children, and she seemed to really welcome us, and she'd let us help her make things. She'd give us lumps of clay and let us make stuff, and she'd put it through the kiln and let us glaze it. So from really early on, pottery, there's something about the smell of clay. Even now when I walk into my studio and I can just smell the clay in the air, it takes me right back to that joyous childhood. Sadly, she died in an accident when I was about 11 and a half. And I was so upset. I didn't want to have anything more to do with ceramics. And another guy over there had decided to set up a pottery about that same time that Janet died. Purely coincidental, and Mum tried to persuade me to go and see him, and I didn't want anything to do with ceramics. It took a couple of years, and we did go and visit John Bordeaux, and again, the minute I walked in, I just thought, oh, I love pottery and I want to do pottery. I had thought about midwifery at that time, but I was a young girl, and I just thought, oh, I can't nurse men, and you could be a nurse to be a midwife, and ceramics was this other thing in my mind that I wanted to do. So John let me go to his studio once a week with another friend from school, and he let us make whatever we wanted, or sometimes he'd set us a little project and gave us little bite-sized lessons. He's always been an encourager of mine. He lent me a wheel as well, which there it is. It's the most difficult wheel to throw on because you're standing up kicking that bar at the front. Very often when you're throwing, or when you see people throw, they're sitting down at an electric wheel or sitting down at a kick wheel, but this, for some strange reason, is a stand-up kick wheel. So you're stood on one foot and kicking with the other. And when I'm throwing, I have to keep swapping feet and altering my position. And it's got its limitations because of the height I'm already at standing. I wouldn't be able to throw something very tall on it. But it's precious to me for those sentimental reasons that John lent it to me. But I found out a couple of years ago, John said, you know that wheel was Janet's, don't you? And I had no idea. So Ian said, right, come on, we're getting that back to the mainland so you can use it. So it's here with me in the studio now.
Great. And do you do mostly throwing, or do you hand build ceramics as well and model? Or
I do a mixture. I haven't so I didn't then go on to say I went to art college. I did 4 years of art college, and it was there that I started doing bas relief modelling. And then I got a job at Wedgwood. I think there's a photo of a couple of plates that I'd been involved in doing the original models for that Jasperware. So the white figures on there. I didn't do the building in the top plate, but the 2 figures, which are Gog and Magog, and the Portcullis Gate and the Emu, I modelled at Wedgwood. So bas relief was something that I really focused on at art college, and then I went on to work at Wedgwood for a couple of years. I haven't done the same sort of modelling. I've been using oak leaves. I've made some moulds from actual oak leaves rather than modelling them myself. Although on the bowls that you'll see with the ferns, I did hand model the coil, the twirl at the end. So yeah, I do a mixture of throwing, and I'll often apply some sort of 3-dimensional pattern or design onto there. It's all very experimental. I had this massive gap from when I left Wedgwood at the age of 22 until maybe about 4 years ago that I started making. So it was a gap of 20 plus years, probably nearer 30 years without doing anything. So it just feels really experimental, and I feel I've got the freedom to try new things. So there's some hand built allium heads that have when the photos are scrolling, you'll see those. And I've made a poppy head, so it's a mixture of hand building and throwing work. So that's the poppy seed head that was raku fired at a West Country Potters Association social firing. It's been really helpful joining an organisation that is dedicated to pottery and ceramics. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to be making to be a member. But it put me off for a year or two. I wanted to join, and I just thought, well, I'm not a collector of ceramics. I just want to get back into it. And when you look at the website, everybody's just making these amazing pots and sculptures, and I just really lacked confidence, so I didn't join to begin with. But I went to the Bubby Arts Festival that's there, and saw their stand, and for the second year running, and as I'd been going around the show, I'd just been feeling so emotional. I was really happy and excited at seeing all this artwork, and but also I really wanted to cry. It felt ridiculous.
But it's an inspirational place though, Esther, isn't it? The Bovey Craft range of makers, and for that to rekindle your ceramics is just superb, isn't it, really? And I know the Raku Day, you had an opportunity to make quite a few different things, didn't you? So one thing that you haven't got a photo of is there's this pot, and I know the other week when you were speaking, people were asking what Raku firing was, and basically you have a biscuit fired pot, so you do need to be able to fire it first, and so then this biscuit fired piece is treated. This is called naked Raku, but you keep your clothes on for it, folks. Don't need to worry about naked Raku. I don't know anything about Raku, so you have to have step-by-step tuition, but basically you put various things on, and then it goes in a kiln and is brought out, and the
you put it in sawdust or combustible things, and the carbon and you can deprive it of oxygen and do what they call a reduced firing. Just gives all these wonderful effects. And then with the naked raku, you actually have to chip off this the slip that you've had to put on before you've put it in the kiln. It's quite harsh on ceramics. You tend to have to use special clay that will tolerate that sudden contrast in temperature. So there's
quite a high risk operation, that one, isn't it? Raku firing.
Yeah. And I've got this bowl as well, and ceramics is so brilliant. There's an element of you that wants to control how things look, and even if you think, well, I know what colour that glaze comes out, something magical happens in the firing. And yeah, with raku, I don't know if you can see that, you get the crazed decoration, and then these little sort of dimples. I deliberately put these runs in, but I had no idea about these different color changes in the rim, and that just is so exciting to me. But I would have to go to another social firing to be able to do that. I don't have a raku kiln. You have a special kiln for doing that.
So what equipment have you got at home apart from your kick wheel now, Esther, that you can use?
I've got the most amazing studio. So I have got my own space that's got a messy room for my pottery, and I've got a clean room for any other artwork I want to do. I have got a kiln that's in the garage though, because I'd hate for my studio to set fire. And it's not. It's fairly sizable, but I think it would be quite warm if I fired my kiln in there. So I've got a kiln that I can just plug in. If you have a bigger kiln, then you have to have like 3-phase electric, and it all gets very complicated.
Right.
And I've got a wooden bench, and I buy plaster and I make my own molds. There's a pottery supplies place up near Exeter. It's my version of a sweet shop. Go and visit, and there's so many tools, and you get your favorite tools. I still use tools that I had when I was at Wedgwood, and you just keep going back to certain ones.
So I think we've got some more photographs of the work that you've been doing, I think with some of the bas relief work on it as well, Esther. I think we may have got some of those. If those come through. Here we go.
So I made 4 planters. I was commissioned, actually. Somebody has known the experience of being commissioned for her own work, and so she asked me specifically if I'd make some wall mounted planters, and she's a beekeeper, so I used the bee stamp on all of them, and I just had a whale of a time experimenting with different glaze effects, and using that. That was a commercial stamp that I pressed on there, but there's like an echinacea flower on the bottom of that one. That's I've modelled that, and thrown the little the dimple in the middle there. So and the glazes, they're all made up glazes that are commercially made. It's a whole different ball game, making your own glazes and needing to do test firing and all those experiments. I play it safe at the moment, and buy commercial
one of the things that you and I were talking about was about testing glazes and trying to do those. And I think you had pictures of your fern pieces, or these are some of my glaze tests that were further up. So this is what they look like when they've been. Those are my test tiles that I did for a series of glazes. So this is the before picture that David's just pointing at now. So that was writing down what they all were, so I remembered, and then doing the tests afterwards, because then you were scratching your head of, oh, what did I put on there? Because they look so similar, don't they, when you paint them before they're fired?
And the different layers, how many different coats you put on makes a big difference as well, doesn't it? They look very Isles of Scilly colours dye there.
Well, it was for a seascape that I used those. Yeah, I did make some different pieces with those, but they were great. Yeah, like the silly photograph, it was trying to get that kind of look for them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know the other thing that you said, Esther, about it. So have you got your fern picture down there?
Somebody else is scrolling through the photos.
Yeah, David's looking for them.
There we are. These are the.
So these are yours now, aren't they? Ready to be.
Yes, yeah. So I have biscuit fired them since I took these photos. So this is just the raw clay, and I've biscuit fired them, and I'm pleased to say they've all survived. But yeah, I am a bit obsessed with ferns at the moment, and there's so many in the hedgerows. And so I've done. There's two different. Well, they're bowls. They're bowls with holes, aren't they?
Yeah, beautiful.
But I've just and that scroll as they're just finishing unfurling. Yeah, I don't know how many of you have looked at a fern in any detail, but they're just so clever the way they unfurl, and they are perfect for pressing into the clay. And the clay I use is quite a fine stoneware, so it really picks up all the detail.
Definitely does, doesn't it? There's loads of detail in those. Well, we look forward to inviting you back, Esther, when they're glazed and we can see what they look like, which would be lovely.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
One of the other things that you said is that how you feel about being creative and making the space and the time to do that. And I think that is something that we're all really mindful of.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see in the background of that photo, there's a piece of word art there that I picked up when I went to a concert. This singer-songwriter was giving a concert, but she also did this word art, and this really struck a chord to me. It says, "Be kind to yourself, just be yourself." And I know my mum would feel guilty if she went and did any painting, because she'd think it was just an indulgence and a selfishness. But as I was saying, when I was first visiting that crafts fair in Bovey, I was, part of my emotions was I felt really tearful that it was a part of me that was missing, that I think that you feel incomplete, I think, if you can't really express yourself, if you're a creative person. It is a release for your emotions, but it's totally self-absorbing. When you're creative, you have all these ideas, and there's a sort of unrest until you sort of got them out there, really. But it's fun and exploratory, and I feel close to God when I'm making things. I feel close to nature. It connects me with my my loved ones, past and present. It fulfills so much in me. So that's why I said it would be being Holy Me would be a good title, because I feel it's a big part of me.